Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Aqueduct Racetrack here on Friday. It is the 5th of July, 2024. Gonna look at the featured 8th race from Aqueduct, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and also join me tomorrow for my Belmont Derby preview here from Aqueduct, and also join me tomorrow for my Eclipse preview from Sandown. Some excellent racing this weekend. Of course, you have the Indiana Derby, and you also have the Cornhusker Handicap from Prairie, which it looks like it's going to be a good race there. So just in general, join me on YouTube for some great previews. But I'm glad with this 8th race that they're going to run it in New York City. I was afraid that they were going to run this race Belmont Stakes weekend up at Saratoga, and it's kind of weird. It would have been weird running the Brooklyn up in about 200 miles away from Brooklyn when you can run it at Aqueduct when you're about a mile and a half, 2 miles away from Brooklyn. But the 8th race from Aqueduct is the Brooklyn Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $200,000 purse race, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of 7 horses going to the main track, the distance of ground of 2,200 meters, or the staying trip of ground of 1 mile and 3/8 on the Aqueduct main track. There's not enough of these long distance races here in this country, and the Brooklyn was run here at Aqueduct quite a few years ago in the 90s, in the early 90s, actually in the fall at 1 mile 3/8 on the main track. So it's cool that the race returns here. It's very, 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 very rich in history. My top selection here in the Brooklyn, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse, Drake's Passage, 5613 in the superfecta. 5613 Super, top selection 5 horse Drake's Passage, 4 called by Tonalist. Christophe Clement trains, Manny Franco gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the commentator at Saratoga on the mud, mile and 8th, 9th of June. First off the bench at 90 cents to the dollar, second off the bench at 90 cents to the dollar, back to state press. This horse flew home clear late, winning by 4 lengths, some pedestrian infractions, basically won in a trot. Coming here to a longer trip, which I think this horse, if he gets to the front and he could set some decent fractions, I think he could get away with it and steal the race. But that was a very good race second off the bench. He's facing open company today, which shouldn't be a problem. I think he should run decent races against them. 2 back in a state open allowance race here at Aqueduct, 1 mile 4th of May. Finished second by a length that day, and as the lukewarm, just over even money favorite, he was just a little bit wide. I thought he wanted more ground that day, but he got around the race course well off the bench. And then in mid-December at Aqueduct, 1 mile allowance race, 90,000. He finished second by a neck that day. The winner was the next start winner. This horse is wide, but was really gaining that day with a 99 bar, which he's done his last 3 races, which is all tie career best. He really made the race interesting late, but not a bad race that day. His subpar race came here in the fall at Aqueduct, mile and 8th in the Empire Classic, where he finished 5th by 9 1/4 lengths that day. He was wide, and on that weird clumpy track, I just don't think he was getting some ground that day. And then an allowance race here at Aqueduct over the mile 3/16 in October. He finished 3rd by half a length. He was a little bit wide, but he got around the race course well. You know, when the Albany last summer at Saratoga quite nicely broke his one allowance race at Belmont nearly a year ago to the day quite easily. He likes his track. He's training well at Saratoga. The added trip doesn't scare me. I think he can run a good race. The best marathoner on dirt in this country is a 6 horse Next. Luan Machado's on this one for William Cowan's 6-year-old owned by Not This Time. The funny thing is, this horse started in the Wesley Ward barn, and when I think of Wesley Ward horses, I think about 5.5, 4.5 furlong horses, not 2-mile staying horses or 1.5 staying horses. But this horse, he loves the longer trip. He basically won over a dozen in the nearly a dozen in the Isaac Murphy Marathon off the bench at Churchill. Won the 1.5 mile Greenwood Cup. Won the Pertstone and nearly course record time last year at Saratoga. Won last year's Brooklyn quite easily. His only subpar race was the Isaac Murphy last year, where he needed the race off the bench. Coming here second off the bench, race might actually be a little bit too short for him, but I think he has some early pace to get the job done. At 4 to 5, I'll use him on the ticket, and I think the one horse lure him in for Safi Joseph and Flavian. You know, I think he's been crying out for some more ground. His races in South Florida weren't bad at all. His most recent race in the Steve Sexton Mile, I thought he wanted more trip, but he'll probably get a good trip from the inside. If there's going to be a horse that can gain some ground, it could be him. Training well at Saratoga. Give him a shot at 10 to 1. You know, that race on the 25th of November at Aqueduct at Gulfstream wasn't bad at all. And his Sunshine Classic, where he gained a lot of ground with a short finish line race at Gulfstream. Again, that race wasn't bad at all. I'm going to give him a shot here with a good poster. I think he could stay for days. But to recap my selection for the featured 8th race now from Aqueduct, it's the Brooklyn Stakes, the grade 2 Brooklyn. Going to take the 5 horse Drake's Passage. Give kudos to the 6 horse Next and the 1 horse Lure Him In. 5613 Super, 561 in the pick 4 to end it off, or in the penultimate leg of the pick 4. That being said, good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, every